Hello and welcome to the Film Pulse Podcast. This is episode number 444. My name is Adam Patterson. With me today, we got Kevin Rakestraw. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, hi. To be honest, I haven't talked to you in ages.
It's it's been 2 weeks since we did a show, which is, every now and then we'll take a break here and there, but it's usually just like a week. But this was a 2-weeker because you went away, and then the next weekend, I believe I was unavailable. So it's been a while. But hey, we're back at it. We're back at it again. I'm still on a temporary setup right now, so apologies for any audio issues.
Yeah, but we're back big.
We're back big. This week we're going to be talking about the Northman. Big, epic Viking action.
Vikings. If you can remember, I think the last time that we recorded, I think it was the last time, you brought up Northman, and I was just like, nah, it's not my thing.
You were not into it. You were putting the kibosh on the Northman.
I'm sure people are highly anticipating what I have to say about the Northman.
Yep. So we'll be covering that along with some of what we're watching on the watch list and going over this week's new releases on VOD and at Blu-ray. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Please remember to review us on iTunes if you get a moment. That would be very helpful. New Say by the 90s. We're going to be recording it today as of this episode dropping.
Man.
Yeah, we're going to be covering controversial Best Picture winners.
Oh,
so that includes Forrest Gump, American Beauty, Dances with Wolves, and Shakespeare in Love. And
Dances with Wolves.
I gotta say that of all of the episodes that we've done on Saved by the 90s, I'm looking forward to this one the least because I do not like any of those movies.
No, those 4 movies sound terrible, and it just sounds really boring.
And that's the thing, is like they're really long too. Like all of them. Actually, I don't know how long Shakespeare in Love is, but the other ones are like at least 2 hours. Dances with Wolves is 3 hours. I got that out of the way first. I already watched that.
Gross.
I was like, I'm just gonna do that. I'm just gonna get this one done. Then the other ones will be easier. But anyway, so stay tuned. And American Beauty, of course, is one that I think will be the absolute worst as far as movies that don't stand up to the test of time. But anyway, stay tuned for that conversation. Let's get into the Northman. I have a synopsis here. From visionary director Robert Eggers comes The Northman, an action-filled epic that follows a young Viking prince on his quest to avenge his father's murder.
Oh boy.
Now, have you seen The Lighthouse? Did you catch up with that one? Okay, yeah.
I've seen The Eggers.
I do recall having a discussion about The Lighthouse, and I think if I remember correctly, you were sort of in the same boat as me, where you were not really taken aback by it. You were not really into The Lighthouse.
No.
Either. Nor was I. Now, The Witch, I know you saw, because I think we covered that on the show. And if I remember correctly, you did like The Witch, right?
I liked The Witch enough. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't like completely swept away with it, but I liked it enough.
Okay.
That I was like, this was all right.
I liked The Witch quite a bit. And I was not very into The Lighthouse. I recognize it for some of its visuals, and there were moments that I liked, but overall I found it to be a little dry. Now, The Northman,
The Lighthouse, 2.5 stars on Letterboxd, and the Vitch,
the Vivivitch,
3 stars. Yeah, it kind of bothers me that people just say The Witch. It's 2 V's. You can't just be like Witch.
Right. Yeah. Got to pronounce it correctly. So what were your initial impressions of his new one, which is much grander in scale than his other movies? So what did you think about The Northman?
Let me throw it back at you, knowing what you know. The last time that we talked about The Northman, that it was mentioned. What do you think I thought of this?
I'm going to say that you were not super into it.
No. Not at all. This is boring as shit.
Unfortunately,
a boring ass movie.
Unfortunately, I agree with you. I also found it to be a little a little too dry, just like the lighthouse. Visually stunning. I thought that that visually there was a lot going on in this that I liked. The bulk of it takes place in Iceland, so you have that. And the scene when they first go to Iceland, that's actually where I got married. That's like the exact place that I got
Damn.
married. Yeah, so on that beach. So, there were definitely like the visuals were really something that I was into. Also, there was a really cool, and I know I'm like jumping all over the place and maybe getting a little bit
Way.
too ahead, but there's a really great shot when it was sort of that it was like there were the boats in the river, and then the camera is like going in through like this like pathway in the trees, and then it goes over the water and into the boat, and then turns, and then we're in the boat. And it was such a cool shot, and I'm not exactly sure how they did it, but it looked awesome.
Yeah, for me that was really the only thing that I will give kudos to is some of the visuals. Some of the visuals are genuinely striking. I think the first time that we're introduced to Amleth's character as in his Viking stage, and it's just green, just
Hmm.
lush green after the snow and everything like that. Just that made me sit up a little bit. But man, I had a feeling about this because again, I said I'm not really into Vikings. I'm not really into Robert Eggers as a director, and this is essentially exactly what I thought it would be when it comes to Vikings. Is that Vikings are boring as shit. They just yell, just grunting and screaming. There's so much screaming in this goddamn movie. Like, shut the
Yeah.
fuck up. I just wanted to mute this thing so
A
much.
lot of growling, barking,
Growling and
brooding.
barking. Yeah, I get it. You're a wolf. Shut the fuck up. Second, Vikings fighting is just like the most boring thing in the world. I swing an axe. I swing a sword. I swing a sword. I swing a sword. I howl like a wolf. I scream. I swing a sword. No one does. Like, there's no beauty to the fight. There's no like great. There's no fluidity. There's nothing to the
Right. It's
fighting
just
of Vikings.
whoever gets hit first is pretty much dead.
Yes,
Like that's kind of how it goes. The level of like
it's just, and then
brutishness to their fighting.
in those arms are swords, sharp objects.
Hmm.
Okay, great. The first time you see it, you're like, oh, I guess it's just brute force, which is just boring as hell. I'm sorry.
Although there was really one really awesome scene when they attacked that village, and the dude threw the spear, and Alexander Skarsgård's character caught the spear and threw it back.
Yeah,
That was a badass
I
scene.
no, I disagree.
Oh, come on. He caught
It's
the
just like,
spear, dude.
yeah, he's not catching no fucking spear. Shut up.
He caught that shit and threw it right back. He said, "Here,
Yeah,
you
fantasy,
take it back."
goddamn fantasy land. Fucking
Well,
Vikings.
there is a level of fantasy to this. I mean, there is some kind of supernatural stuff going on
Which
in
I
it,
could have used
which
more of, honestly. I
same.
mean,
Actually, I agree. I like it when they just throw in some like kind of high fantasy, like supernatural witchcraft stuff in it. Like, I'm glad that they did that, and I could have used more of it as well.
yeah, I was a little bit bummed too, though. Like when he goes to find that super special sword,
Yeah.
you know.
I thought that thing was just gonna rip people to shreds. I thought it was gonna catch on fire too, because were kind of acting like
Yeah,
it was gonna be this crazy fire blade, and
yeah,
but it was just a regular sword, man. I was really disappointed about that too.
yeah. And I mean, he fights that corpse to get it, but then they completely undercut it immediately because he's like he defeats the corpse, and then it's just like straight back to him walking up to the corpse and just grabbing the sword. It's like, okay, I don't know if we needed that. He kind of ruined it.
Yeah.
Him fighting the corpse was kind of great, but there was also some of the high fantasy stuff. I think this is where it. I enjoyed the high fantasy stuff. I wish there was more of it, but at the same time, the high fantasy stuff were in terms of visually some of the worst parts of the movie, like the whole the Tree of Kings, like
Mm.
that bad. That just looked really bad.
I feel like the tree in Elden Ring looks better.
Yeah, it's just like some of that, the high fantasy stuff, like the way in which they presented it visually, just looked really awful.
Well, that's actually one of my biggest complaints about this, and I think that one of the things that makes me feel like it was dragging is the kind of surreal moments, the kind of fantasy, the visions, the hallucinations, that kind of drug trippy type stuff that happens. There's a lot of that happens in this movie, and I feel like a lot of it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I did not like that, and I felt like it fucked with the pacing of the movie, and I just could have done without all of that type of stuff because again, like they were putting all these like crazy visuals in during these scenes, but it didn't. I felt like it didn't really aid in the story much. Like it didn't add anything other than another visual layer, which I thought that the visuals were strong enough to stand on their own without the kind of crazy dream sequences and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think that's going to come down to the thing that I hated about this the most is outside of it just, it being boring, Vikings just, they won't shut the fuck up with their growling and howling and whatnot, screaming, their boring ass fighting. But the story of this is just, there's nothing to it. It's a very basic, just like revenge. Eye for an eye leaves us all blind. It's okay. Got ya.
Yeah,
And it's
and the
just this
other
epic thing. It just keeps going and going. It's like, yeah, okay.
The other issue I had, and I think that this goes along with the story being pretty threadbare, was that most of the characters, aside from Alexander Skarsgård as Amleth, were pretty one-dimensional. Like I felt like Anya Taylor-Joy's character, that like they kind of played her up as being something special. Like she was clearly someone who had a very deep background, and there was a lot going on with her character, but we didn't get to really see any of that. And I felt like we just barely scratched the surface of understanding like who she was.
Yeah.
And I think the same can be said for a lot of the other characters too. And like I kind of predicted the way that things were going with the way things would turn out with his mom, who's played by Nicole Kidman, and how that would turn out. But yeah, I agree. It just felt pretty basic. I think that a lot of the this movie just hinges on the visuals. I think that was one of the things that they were really kind of banking on was the strong visual storytelling. And while it's good, I just it wasn't enough for
Oh
me.
God.
Anything else you wanted to add about the Northman?
No, I just want to kind of follow up with you to kind of reiterate what you said. It's like to me, there's just absolutely no complexity to any of these characters. Like you said, Alexander Skarsgård's character maybe has the most, but even him, it's not that much. He's getting, he gets thrown a curveball towards the end, and that's about it. Like
Well,
there's nothing going on with anyone.
well, and I think one of the things is we see Skarsgård as a child, and then we jump ahead. It literally says like many years later on the title card. So we don't see like how he's really developed, except for now he's like this kind of, you know, grunting Viking dude.
Yeah.
So it's like although we kind of see the journey that his character took, it's still not really that interesting.
Yeah, and they do that a couple times. There's a couple of things they do, like the trying to think of what you would compare it to, like the wooden lacrosse game, I
Oh
guess.
yeah, it's like field hockey.
Yeah, it's like a mix between field hockey and lacrosse, and it's just like, who are these
they
people?
just they just like
Who's playing who?
it seemed like it was the slaves versus the like non-slaves.
Yeah, but like the
At least
kid was
that's what
getting upset, but I didn't see the slaves score a single point, and he was all upset about them. Like,
I don't know. It seemed like he just got like super amped up into it. Like he was like all into it. It was
yeah,
weird. It was a I liked the scene, but like what the kid did and that was just kind of strange.
yeah. I mean, that kid's dumb as hell. Like, even if he didn't die at that point, you knew he's gonna die at some point because he's dumb as hell.
Idiot kid.
An idiot, kids.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and give this thing a score. What are you going to give it out of 10?
Oh man, because honestly, really, talking about like the visuals, and the visuals are great at some points, but the times in which it's great, is the landscapes and dwarfing
Right.
the action in the landscapes, which I feel like you have to go out of your way to fuck that up. Especially
Yeah.
considering we didn't even talk about this, the ending, the fight at the gates
Mm,
of hell.
hmm
Like that was just the most lackluster thing I've seen in
I was
ages.
so disappointed with that because the like he's like faded. What did he say? He's like he's faded to like fight at the fire river or something like that, and it's just like, oh man, he's gonna be
Yeah,
fighting in like a river that's burning, and it's gonna be nuts. And what actually happens is far from it. It's just
no,
not
it's
it's yeah, it's pretty lackluster, unfortunately. I forgot to mention, I did want to mention that Bjork's in this,
yeah.
and when she shows up, I was like, I'm pretty sure that's Bjork. Like, I think that's her, but I wasn't like completely positive. And I looked it up, and sure enough, there
Yeah,
she
and I think
was.
that's another the connection. I was kind of disappointed because I did not know that Shone, the Icelandic poet slash writer slash numerous things, was a co-writer on this with Eggers. He's done a lot of collaborations with Bjork. I'm literally looking at three of Shone's books that I own, and I'm a fan of him. And this was just that, like, that made it even worse. Like, when I saw that in the end credits, I was like, oh, really? Like, I thought this was just Eggers fucking it up, but it was shown too. That's a bummer.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, a lot of people are into this one, so I think that your mileage may vary with it. I think that
Oh, yeah.
even though
No.
we were not like super into this one, and I think that I liked it maybe a little bit more than you, but a lot of people seem to be really digging it.
Oh, yeah.
So,
No, I know that my sister in law has seen it 3 times in theaters
oh
already.
wow, wow.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I really can't imagine watching this a second time. I
I,
just
I barely
that
I barely made it through one time. You know how much this this blows my mind. A, I did not smoke once during this movie. B, you know how often I wanted to smoke during this movie?
many times, I would imagine.
Numerous. Almost every 20 minutes, that's just like, let's just pause it and smoke. Do that instead.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't. It didn't really start losing me until maybe halfway through. I started feeling like, okay, this is starting to lose me a little bit here. I like the title cards. I thought those were cool.
Yeah, they were alright. I think it's just, I got off, because like I said, I knew what the Viking thing would be, and it turned out to be exactly what I thought it would be, which is just way too much grunting and yelling and screaming and howling. I just wanted them to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and I like Viking stuff, not as much as other things, but I'm okay with Viking stuff. What's that there's an Icelandic comedy about Vikings. It's on Netflix. Can't remember the name of it, but I remember being so surprised at how funny and well made that was. Damn it, I can't remember the name of that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Norseman?
Yeah, Norseman. Because I knew it was something that was very similar to the Northman. I would much prefer that over this. All right,
Yeah.
let's go ahead and give it a score. We're gonna give it a 10.
Man, I originally was sitting at like a 5 because I was like, it's not too bad. But then discussing it, I feel like a 4.
I'm at like a 5.5 on this one. It's kind of right down the middle for me again. Like performances wise, I did think that the performances were quite good. Everybody in it was quite good, and the as we said numerous times, visuals were quite good too. So yeah, for me, it's kind of right down the middle, and I like revenge stories too. So it's a little bit above average for me.
Yeah. All right.
All right. That is playing in theaters right now, and it is also available as a premium VOD rental. So
Yeah.
you can watch it at
$20.
home. Yeah.
$40. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
All right. Let's talk about some of what we've been watching. Even though we haven't been recording for a couple weeks, I don't have much to talk about because my life is still in chaos right now. But I did see Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Okay, real quick before you say that, because I have not seen anything for this, but when I was on vacation, I get to watch TV. and it was just a ton of trailers for this movie. And the trailers made this look like really bad. Like the visuals are just like laughably bad, like below TV quality. Is that
Um, no, I think that the visuals were fine. I mean, they weren't anything to write home about. Now, I was like not into this at all. Like, I just did not care about this movie. I liked the first Doctor Strange, to be clear. I liked it quite a bit, but this one just, aside from the title, I like the title a lot. It really wasn't doing it for me. The fact that Scott Derrickson left the project and then they gave it to Sam Raimi, like obviously Sam Raimi has there's a lot of nostalgia I have with that director, but he's been pretty much just doing Disney stuff for, forever, aside from Drag Me to Hell, which was incredible. But
yeah?
anyway, I thought this was fine. It was
Hmm.
like an average Marvel movie to me. There were some cool elements. There was a lot of cool fan servicey kind of stuff in there. Some of the visuals were interesting. It's definitely a Sam Raimi movie, which is kind of not really expected. Like I didn't really expect to see this and be like, "Oh yeah, that definitely feels like a Raimi movie." But he was, I guess, allowed to incorporate some of his like kind of Evil Dead like stuff in here. And in that regard, it is kind of interesting. Like there are definitely winks and nods to Evil Dead in this, which I didn't expect. And it plays out more like a horror movie. It's probably the closest thing we'll ever get to a Marvel horror movie. So Marvel Studios horror movie, that is. And I'm not counting like freaking Morbius in there. So yeah, I don't know. It's straight down the middle for me. I don't think you need to see it in theaters or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, all right. Doctor Strange. This looked absolutely terrible to me when I
Well,
saw it.
you liked the first one, right?
No, I didn't even finish the first one. I hated that
What?
shit.
What? I thought you were into it.
No, I hated. I
Hmm.
just I didn't like the character at all, and Cumberbatch as that character. I just couldn't do it. Couldn't
Interesting.
do it.
All right.
Yeah, and I think that was probably the last Marvel movie that I tried. I think that's when I was just like, yeah, I don't think this is for me,
Hmm.
and I moved on with my life.
There you go.
And I moved on to an absolute banger. This is a movie that I've seen on numerous lists in terms of like absolute greatest horror movies to exist, just cold-blooded horror movies, and that's Angst from 1983, Gerald Carl. And I'm surprised to find that this is really the only thing that he directed. Like since then, he's made like documentaries and TV stuff and stuff like that. But this is really the only movie that he has made, and he made it alongside of Zbigniew Rybczynski, he was a producer, writer, editor. He did the cinematography, and the cinematography is what's going to stand out to you right off the bat for Angst. The cinematography is anything that I've ever seen, honestly, and that alone, watch it. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna blow your mind. It's incredible, and also just the construction of this. So you're immediately introduced to this guy, uh, Urban Leader plays the main character, and like it's the I forget what that camera's called, where it's attached to like the front, like they wear it as like a harness on the front of them, so it's
Yeah.
fixated on their face,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just him. He's disheveled. You can tell that he's out of sorts, and he's just like wandering around this neighborhood. He's checking out houses and stuff, and you can just tell he's in a bad way. Really no dialogue, anything. He's just walking around. He's kind of freaking out, sweating, all this stuff. He finally picks a house, walks up to it, rings the doorbell. An old lady answers. The only thing that he says is, "I'm shooting now," which is him pulling out a gun, and he shoots her like 3 or 4 times, kills her. He's arrested, and it's kind of like this documentary type deal. After that, it's like still photographs of like his upbringing and his childhood and all these things. And then he's essentially released from prison, I think after like 10 years. And he gets released, and he's so fucking excited because he's dreamed up his dream scenario, which is he wants to break into a house and live out his fantasies of killing multiple people. So it's him trying to find a house, which eventually he does. He breaks in, And this is all kind of like in real time. And then he just murders everyone inside of the house. And it's just completely detached, very cold blooded, very bizarre and fucked up. And just the cinematography, the way in which it's shot is just incredible. The music is a little bit dated because it's kind of that like industrial.
Mm.
It's a bit too upbeat. Like maybe in the 80s it didn't sound upbeat, but 2022 it sounds really upbeat and kind of a bit off. But it also kind of works because it's just the whole thing is just fucked up.
Mm.
And
Okay.
honestly, you especially need to watch Angst.
Yeah,
You're
I've
gonna
seen this
be
on
like,
like I've also seen this on a ton of lists, and I just haven't got around to it. But I'll make it a priority now.
yeah, it's not as cool. Like in the 80s, I'm sure it was like, oh my God, this is deranged and fucked up. But watching it in 2022, you're kind of like, yeah, I mean, it's cold blooded, but
Yeah.
it's not that bad.
Okay. That's Angst. Switching gears a bit, I saw Uncharted, directed by Ruben Fleischer.
There you go.
I really wish that Dan Trachtenberg was still. I really would have liked to have seen his version of this because I bet it would be really good because there was promise with this movie. Like it wasn't all bad. Some of the action set pieces were fun, but at the end of the day, it was like really just kind of bland.
Yeah.
It played it super safe. It was very much tied to the video game, the which is fine. I don't have a problem with that because I think that Uncharted in and of itself, like the story is good enough that you can just adapt it, do a straight adaptation into a movie, and I don't think that you would like lose much there.
Yeah.
But with this, it's like meh. It's like the Tomb Raider reboot that they did a few years back, where it's like
Yeah.
it's not necessarily bad, it's not like offensively bad, but it's just incredibly forgettable. It's like it's glossy and very heavy with CG, but they check all the boxes. There's lots of fun adventure moments. There's the dialogue's pretty good, like the banter back and forth between Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg is good, but it's just yeah, it's just a bit meh at the end of the day. Forgettable, very
Yeah.
forgettable.
I could definitely see that. The only other thing that I watched, which was not meh, and that's Fritz Lang's Ministry of Fear from 1944. Getting some Fritz Lang up in here. This is a World War II kind of like espionage thriller, but an espionage thriller where every man is kind of thrust into the center of it, which is Stephen Neal, played by Ray Milland, he's released from an insane asylum, right? He's been spending 2 years in there. He killed his wife. It was a mercy killing because she was dying. She had a terminal disease. So they put him in an asylum. He gets released. He's in this podunk town. He wins a cake. He wins a cake. This is the beauty of this movie. He wins a cake at a fair. But this cake, someone else wants this cake. There's something inside this cake. The Nazis want it.
Uh-oh.
So he ends up going to London. He just wants to live a quiet life now. But now he's getting wrapped up in this web of Nazis, cakes, seances. He goes to a seance. There's a murder. He's pinned for it. Now he's on the run. He's got to go down in the subway because they're getting bombed. I mean, literally, this movie has everything. It's insane. And he's just a guy. He's just the guy that was released from an insane asylum. Just not, but, 1 day ago. And now he's just completely embroiled in this entire situation. He's trying to figure it out. And I mean, I had so much fun with this because it's just that old timey, like perfect, like kind of condensed thriller where they keep it simple. They keep the storyline tight. There's not like offshoots or anything like that. We get on the path from A and we go straight to B. And of course, it's Fritz Lang, so the black and white cinematography is just outstanding. There's some beautiful use of shadows, especially at the end of the film where there's like a shootout, but it's in the dark, so all you get is people momentarily lit up by like the muzzle flashes.
Ooh, I like
Oh
that.
yeah. Oh, it's so good. The only thing that sucks about this, and really the only thing that sucked about this entire movie, is that's like the ending, right? And it's
Mm.
just incredible. It just looks great. And then there's this like what I can only imagine is kind of a studio interference where they tack on an ending after that,
Uh,
which is him and his love interest driving, and it looks terrible because they're not driving. And she's like, "Oh, we're gonna get married. We're gonna have a church wedding. Da, 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 and we're gonna have a cake." And he just turns and goes, "Cake," because
wow. Yeah.
he won that cake that the Nazis wanted, so it ended bad. But it's that little tiny stinger that you can just be like, "Well, I can just imagine that that never happened,"
Mm-hmm.
and just clip that off with some
Yeah.
scissors in my memory.
All right. Cool. That's Ministry of Fear. It seems like you definitely had a better couple of weeks than I did because the last one I'll talk about is Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Well,
Uh,
I
yeah.
I think I can pinpoint your problem.
Yeah, I got two video game movies in here. This is directed by Jeff Fowler. He's the guy who did the first one. And I didn't hate the first one, and I actually don't hate this one either. I had more fun with this than Uncharted. And this is exactly what I expected it to be. As far as the kind of live action CG family movies go, this is pretty good. It has some genuinely funny moments. There's some fun set pieces. There's an absolute ton of fan service. So if you're a fan of the Sonic games, this is definitely one to check out. If you're not familiar, this one sees the return of Dr. Robotnik, played by Jim Carrey, and you also have Tails in this one, as well as Knuckles. And Knuckles is voiced by Idris Elba. So
I just
that,
saw that. Wait,
yeah,
this is
so that's
incredible.
that's actually really fun. And the addition of Knuckles and the fact that he's like in it a good bit definitely aids in this because the whole kind of thing with Knuckles is that he's not from Earth or anything. He's like from an alien planet, so he doesn't know anything. So he's just kind of dumb and he's just this kind of like dumb brute, and he's pretty funny. I would compare him to Dave Bautista's character in Guardians of the Galaxy, something like that, where he's got a lot of funny. He just says a lot of funny shit. So yeah, I enjoyed Sonic 2 overall. There's a stinger for a third one, so they're working on a third one now, and yeah, it's fun. Like the CG is hit or miss. Some of it looks pretty good. Some of it looks absolutely awful. But yeah, they do a lot of fun stuff to weave in the video games that because when you look at Sonic the video game, like it's like how can you turn this into a movie? It's just this like platformer that didn't really have a lot of story. And how are you gonna like translate what happens in this 2D platformer into like a live action movie? But they do some creative things to throw in some fan servicey stuff. So yeah, I enjoyed it actually. Sonic 2. Check it out. It's on VOD.
Out of all the things that you mentioned here, it sounds like Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was the high point.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
Incredible.
I think it was.
Wow.
I mean, it's the high point, but it's not like,
Oh yeah. No, I know.
it's a 2.5 for me on Letterboxd. So
Yeah.
it's
And
not
yeah, I mean it's just
necessarily.
no, it's definitely you had a bad run there, but
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching some good TV, so at least there's that.
there you go.
All right, let's take a look at what we have on VOD this week. On the 17th, we have Hatching coming out. That is the horror movie from IFC Midnight. Looks pretty creepy. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this one. I'll probably check it out. On the 17th, we have Duel coming out. This is the Riley Stearns sort of kind of sci-fi movie
Oh
about
yeah.
a young woman who gets a terminal diagnosis and she decides to have herself cloned so as to spare her family from the grief of losing her, only to find out that she is not dying after all.
Oh no.
And due to the cloning laws, there can only be one, so they have to have a duel to the death to see which one gets to take over the life.
I'm interested in this one.
Yeah, I saw this at Sundance and I liked it quite a bit. If
I
you're
I'm
if
also
you go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm also interested in the fact that the composer that does the music for the film is Emma Ruth Rundle, which I'm a big fan of. So
Well, I think you'll like it. It's weird. It's if
yes,
you're I know that you didn't see the art of self-defense, but it's very much presented in that same style where the dialogue is like very stilted. It's like an unnatural way of presenting dialogue, and I could see that that could be problematic for some people, but I actually like it quite a bit.
okay,
So, yeah, maybe that'll be our movie for next week. We'll see.
let's
On
do it.
Yeah, we'll pencil it in. We'll pencil it in
Pencil
for
it. We'll see.
yeah.
We'll see what the other things that you have to
Just
say
make
here.
sure, like I don't want to pigeonhole myself into this one thing when something magical might come up.
Yeah, you never know what Netflix is gonna
You
drop.
never know what you're gonna get. All right, on Blu-ray this week we have The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance from 1962. Escape from New York is getting a 4K release. Top Secret is coming out. I feel like Top Secret had multiple Blu-ray releases, which is it's an odd one to have multiple Blu-ray releases, but there we go. Let's see. Beverly Hills Cop 2 got Licorice Pizza coming out. If you haven't seen that yet, highly recommend. The Craft from 1996 coming out on 4K. It's the original one. Extreme Prejudice from 1987 coming out on the Vestron Collector series. I'm a big fan of that series. Femme Fatale from 2002. We got Girls Night Out from 1982. That looks awesome. That's an Arrow release. We got Hell or High Water coming out in 4K. Belle from last year. Without Warning from 1980. Infinite coming out in 4K. Totally forgot about that movie. I bet you don't even know what that is.
No, I don't.
It's with Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, yeah, not really interested.
There's a
Oh,
crazy looking,
it's a Fuqua movie. It's a
yeah,
Fuqua. It's
sci-fi.
2021. What? Sci-fi? Two?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yep.
Wow.
It doesn't look very good. Escape from New York is also getting a box set in addition to its regular 4K release. And it comes in a really cool looking box and it includes like a poster and some pins and looks like maybe like playing cards or something. And it comes with the vinyl soundtrack.
Damn,
This thing it looks awesome.
getting everything.
Got the Scare Maker from 1982. That's coming out on Arrow. Let's see. Red Post on Escher Street. Death Valley. That's on Shudder. That's pretty much it. What about Criterion's?
Oh, we got one criterion. That's The Funeral from 1984, Juzo Itami, which, dude, reading over the synopsis of this that's on the Criterion website, one thing that has stuck out to me, which I think is reason enough to check this movie out. I don't know anything about it outside of this, but cinema's most epic handoff. Sandwich handoff. Cinema's most epic sandwich handoff.
I like how you said handwich. I'm like, oh, what's a handwich?
It's a handheld, you know.
I think
The
there
old handheld.
was I think there actually was a Disney like a Disney World treat called the Handwich.
Mm.
And it was
Looking
like
up
it
now.
was a sandwich that was like cone shaped.
Yep. It says Disney Handwich.
Yeah. And they
Billed as
discontinued it.
the sandwich of the future. To be eaten, the handwich is a bread cone that was given one of four fillings: ham and cheese, barbecue chicken, roast beef and cheddar, tuna salad. Imagine having a fucking handwich, tuna salad. The goddamn
Just not
salad.
just noshing on some
Humidity.
tuna salad in
Humidity.
the Magic Kingdom.
Oh god.
You get some of that like Splash Mountain water on there too. Oh
Oh
boy.
Lord
Oh
have
yeah.
mercy.
Oh yeah. Oh my
I
God.
want to know. I want to know the ratio of people that have gotten the tuna salad sandwich and then subsequently have vomited somewhere inside the confines of Tomorrowland.
Oh yeah. You know that You know that. I mean, they discontinued it for some reason.
I'm pretty sure it was the two.
People were not into the sandwich.
They were presented with it. They're like, look, be the sandwich entirely, or just eliminate tuna salad as an option. And the guy that came up with the sandwich was like, absolutely not. If there's no tuna salad, it doesn't
It's all or
exist.
nothing.
Perform. Sorry, I walk.
Oh my God, the sandwich. I actually knew that because there is a YouTube channel I watch called Defunct Land, and the channel goes over like canceled theme park rides and stuff like that, and they had an episode on the sandwich. That's how I knew that.
Oh God,
it's great. Cool. All right. I think that's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. You can send us your questions and topics to podcast@filmpulse.net. You can follow us on Twitter @FilmPulseNet and @FilmPulseKevin. And if you have a minute, please review us on iTunes. That would be extremely helpful. For Kevin Rakestraw, my name's Adam Patterson. We'll see you next week.